I've been a judge for the Cardboard Edison Award 3 times. If you don't know, the Cardboard Edison Award is a contest to find the best unpublished board game. Designers from all over the world submit a short video and the rules for their game, and then judges review the entries, scoring each game on engagement, originality of theme, originality of mechanics, and overall rating. I'll go into these 4 categories more later in the video, but I first want to talk about who this contest is for and why you might or might not want to submit your game. I believe this contest is great for designers who want to self-publish a game, meaning they plan on running a crowdfunding campaign on a platform like Kickstarter, and then handling all of the manufacturing and shipping of the game to backers. Now, I say that this contest is great for designers who want to self-publish because one of the best things about this contest is being able to say you won or you were a finalist for the Cardboard Edison Award on your crowdfunding page to give your game more credibility. Your game will also gain more exposure, hopefully increasing the number of people who would be interested in backing your project. But this contest can also be really great for designers who pitch to publishers, and then it's the publishers who take care of the manufacturing and shipping of the game. But there is an important rule for this contest that you need to be aware of, and that is that you are not allowed to pitch your game to publishers while it is under review for the Cardboard Edison Award. They say the reason for this is because many of our judges are publishers, and they often express interest in designs that have been submitted. But to maintain the integrity of the judging process, we ask judges not to reach out to designers whose games are in the running. So we ask designers to politely hold off on any licensing discussions with publishers until everyone can approach the games on the same ground. I completely understand this rule, but it is something to consider for designers who primarily pitch their games to publishers. Will you be okay with not pitching your game or having any licensing discussions about the game for 3 or 4 months? If your game is not chosen as a finalist, then you'll really only be restricted by this rule for a month or so it might not be the biggest deal, but it is something to be aware of. But overall, this contest can be really valuable for designers who self-publish or pitch to publishers, because one of the best things about it is the feedback you get from judges. This can be critically important information to help move your game forward, as it comes from people who are, or should be, objective and have a lot of experience in the board game industry. David Masnado, the designer of Roommates, the co-winner of the 2022 Cardboard Edison Award, writes that one of the most valuable benefits of submitting a game to the Cardboard Edison Award is the feedback from judges. The second round of feedback the finalists receive is essentially a large chunk of unguided test data, often referred to as blind playtest feedback. What David is referring to is that designers of the top games from the first round of judging are asked to mail in a physical prototype where judges then spend a weekend playing in person before determining the winner. So while the first round of judging is very valuable, if your game makes it through to the second round, judges will actually get a chance to play your game in person and provide feedback based off those playtests. This feedback is so incredibly valuable to a designer, and so if you are fortunate enough to make it to the second round, this contest will be absolutely worth it for the feedback alone. So let's say you've decided to submit your game to the Cardboard Edison Award. And just FYI, the deadline to submit every year is usually in January. I include reminders about the deadline in my weekly newsletter. I'll include a link below if you want to sign up. Now, you'll be tasked with making a short video, no longer than 5 minutes, and writing out your rules. First of all, I want to let you know that you do not need to be a professional graphic designer or videographer to submit your game for this competition. In fact, how professional your video or prototype look are not a factor in this contest. The Cardboard Edison team literally tells us judges that when judging each submission, the quality of the video and the prototype should be disregarded as much as possible. We are looking for a great game design first and foremost. So please do not spend a ton of money or time trying to make a high quality professional level video or rules. One designer for a game I judged this year made their video by screen capturing their computer, and then they explained how to play their game by clicking around the digital prototype they made in Tabletop Simulator. This can be a great way to clearly show how your game plays without needing a ton of editing or worrying about presenting to the camera. Another designer held their camera in their hands, which was probably just a phone, to show their physical prototype and then spoke as they moved the pieces around to explain how to play the game. These approaches are perfectly fine, and highly produced videos with animations and music and elaborate sets are not necessary. Of course, you won't be penalized for having highly polished videos, but they won't earn you any extra points. So I would definitely suggest suggest putting all the effort into making sure you have a solid game by thoroughly playtesting it. That is the most important thing. I would say the second most important thing would be making sure your rules are clear and concise. Making a video that gives an overview of the game is third most important in my opinion. Now, I just made a video called Avoid These 10 Mistakes When Writing Board Game Rules, which I highly recommend you watch before submitting your game to the Cardboard Edison Award. The biggest stumbling block almost all of the games I've had that I have ever judged for this award has been unclear or hard to follow rules that are usually way too long. We are judging a lot of games and we don't have an hour to read through a rulebook trying to make sense of it. Sabrina Kuliba, the designer of Diatoms, which won the Cardboard Edison Award in 2023, explains it best when she says, "Often judges for game contests are evaluating a whole pile of games. They're reading a lot of rulebooks, watching a lot of pitch videos, and putting in the time to learn and play a lot of first games. While a compelling core game design is crucial, challenges like a difficult-to-read rulebook, confusing component iconography, or a muddled pitch video can add friction to the judge's first experience. It's obvious, but keep reminding yourself anyway, you won't be in the room to smooth over these details. So it's important to have several other people read your rules so they can let you know if anything is confusing or unclear. And try to make your rules as concise as possible. The rules for several of the games I judged this year were 20 pages or more, and these were not very complicated games. Try giving yourself a restriction of maybe 8 or 10 pages at most and see what you can cut, or maybe use images instead of text to fit everything within that limit. So let's say you've submitted your video and rules and now the judges are going to review it. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at 4 main categories: engagement, originality of theme, originality of mechanics, and overall rating. And each of these categories is scored on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being extremely poor and 7 being extremely good. We also give written feedback answering these questions. What was the game's strongest aspect? What was the game's weakest aspect? And any additional comments. So what does engagement mean? Cardboard Edison explains that we want to know how fun and interesting the game seems. Is there a hook or dynamic that will keep players involved? This is a bit of a tough one to score, but I approached it as, am I excited about possibly playing this game? Can I imagine myself wanting to play the game again once the game is over? And can I picture people huddled around the game, completely immersed in the experience, or are they zoned out or bored or on their phones? Most of the games I scored got an average or fairly good score for engagement, but there was one game that got extremely good. I'm still thinking about this game and I want to play it so bad. It was absolutely the best game that I judged this year and I think it will win the whole thing. I could feel myself getting excited wanting to play this game. That is the feeling I was looking for, and it's the feeling you are looking for from your playtesters. Now for originality of theme, again, most games scored an average or fairly good. Let's just say that I encourage you to think of a game that has a theme besides space exploration. I saw quite a few space-themed games, and while I love space and think there are a lot of possibilities for original space-themed games, most of them were just about exploring and mining planets and combat in space. Now, when I did get a game that wasn't space-themed, it was a nice breath of fresh air. There were only about 2 games that I judged that scored higher than fairly good for originality of theme. So if you want your game to stand out, I would encourage you to think outside the box when it comes to theme and try to be different and unexpected in this category. For originality of mechanics, this is referring to how innovative or different the rules of play are. How interesting are the tools or actions that the players get to use to play the game? You don't need to come up with brand new board game mechanics, but using established mechanics in a new way or using several mechanics together in different ways can be really interesting. And another thing to consider is how well do the mechanics integrate with the theme to help it shine. If you want to learn more about all the different board game mechanics, check out the Board Game Geek's list of mechanics, which I'll link to below. And then there's the overall rating, which I just used the average from the other 3 categories to determine that one. So if I can leave you with my final thoughts, if you're considering submitting your game to the Cardboard Edison Award, before submitting your game, focus on playtesting it as much as possible to ensure the gameplay is solid and engaging. And do not worry about the production value of your video. Focus on making a video that gives a clear and concise overview of your game. You don't need anything fancy. And do not worry about getting a professional quality prototype made for the award. As long as your components clearly communicate how to play the game, that's totally fine. And put a lot of effort into writing clear and concise rules. Helping the judges understand how to play your game as quickly and easily as possible will be a huge help and increase your chances of the judges actually understanding how to play your game and scoring accordingly. And don't worry about winning the contest, focus on the feedback you'll get from the judges that will either help move your game forward or let you know that maybe it's time to move on to a different game. I also included a link in the description below to the Cardboard Edison Award Best Practices document, which I highly recommend you read before submitting your game. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you in your board game design journey, whether or not you submit your game to the Cardboard Edison Award. If you got anything out of this video, I hope you consider liking and subscribing. As always, I want to thank my awesome members. Thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. You can click on the join button below if you want to join my membership program, which will give you access to weekly playtesting sessions, members-only streams, and Discord channel, and many other perks. I'm also using a new microphone for this video, so please let me know in the comments if the audio sounds good. But thanks again for watching. Be sure to follow me on social media at Pam Walls Game Design, and I'll see you in the next video.